Hi, this is Pam, Flower Patch Farmhouse, and today we are going to spring prune a Group 2 Clematis. This one is called Bees Jubilee, but I have done it on all of my Group 2 pruning type clematis. I'm going to show you two different ways that I do it. One, I just partially prune back, and that's just like the dead looking vines. I prune it back up to a bud. And also, I'm going to show you how I prune it all the way to the ground or within inches of the ground. And this forces more shoots up from the root, and it also helps you to keep the blooms lower down on the clematis instead of all blooming up at the top. I'm also going to show you one that I pruned in fall, and then this one that I pruned in spring, because I filmed when I pruned it, and then I filmed just this morning, I think, showing you the comparison between the two, because they sit right next to each other, of one pruned in fall and the one I just pruned in spring. And then it's probably been 4 to 8 weeks since I pruned it, and you can see the difference. Also, I wanted to tell you that last summer I had to prune back my, Bell of Walking, and that's also Group 2. It's a double clematis, and I had to do it later in the summer, kind of like the end of June, because I was digging up a rose that it was climbing up, and there was no way I could prune or dig out the rose without cutting it all the way to the ground, and I just figured I was not going to get any blooms. I knew it would come back the following year, but I didn't know that it was going to go ahead and grow up. It grew up probably 5 feet, and then it bloomed. It bloomed like crazy. It just bloomed later. It bloomed on into September and on. So if for some reason you have to prune one back hard, don't be afraid to do it, even if it's later on in the season. It will recover, and or that Bell of Walking never bloomed any better. So don't be afraid to prune your clematis. These, like I said before, are type 2, which are the big flowered type. Most of them you find in the garden centers are these Group 2. So, the labels will usually tell you, or you can do an internet search and you'll find, which group it belongs to. So let's get pruning. This is the clematis I'm going to show you how I prune in the spring. You can see here the little buds already coming out on the vine. Now, many times I have just shortened this thing off to the ground, and that works great. This is one of the varieties that blooms on both old and new wood. I think this one is either Bees Jubilee or Killian Donahue. I can't remember which. I should have kept it marked, or I usually have a garden map where I have drawn out where things are at and the names. But anyways, this will go ahead and bloom if I sheared it off. But see here, I wanted to show you what I do. I just come in, if I'm not going to shear it off, and I just cut off all the little dead tendrils and leaves. And, well, I actually cut that whole vine. That's okay too, because there's tons of them. Now this is coming up from here and up and over this, which I could tie it up to the post, and it would be blooming up at my ceiling or the level of the railing of the deck, not the deck, railing, what is that? The fascia boards up on the porch. And that would be really pretty. But here, like I said, I'm going along and I'm just cutting off the dead. And then you can see all the live buds and what have you. And that's where more vines, tendrils are going to come from. And I would keep doing that. But since I am going to power wash this deck or porch, I'm going to go ahead and shear it off at the ground. Now, you don't have to. Like I said, you can just cut back all the dead and tie it up higher, and it would be fine. It would be great. This thing has a lot of stems coming from the ground, but I need, like I said, to power wash, and this would get damaged when I did that. So I'm going to show you how I shear it off at the ground in the spring. A lot of times the other one I did in the fall. So many times I would have done it in the fall, but I didn't get to this one. So I'm going to get down here and cut this thing off. I'm going to find the base where it's all coming from, and I'm just going to cut it off just going to cut it off inches from the ground. Probably, it looks like about 3 inches, if that. And then I'll just pull it all out. Now it may seem a little harsh when you've already got buds coming, and it does disturb me somewhat, but I know this one we will get so prolific. Ample water and sunshine, and this thing will grow up to the fascia board and bloom all summer long. This thing bloomed on into the fall, so this is a variety that is great to have. So you see this down here? And there's one that's still attached. See how many different vines are coming up? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's quite a few coming up. So no fear of it being skimpy on vines and blooms. So the rest of it up here I will continue to cut away and pull out. And there we go. It'll be all ready. I'm going to build a trellis for this because this thing was not substantial enough, and I want it to be able to climb up the entire porch post. Let me zoom out. See right there, it'll climb all the way up to the eave up there. Here's the clematis that I pruned a few weeks ago. This is now May 22nd, and you can see it is just going gangbusters, growing strong. And here's the one I pruned in fall, and it's not much further along. So late fall or early spring, you can prune these. These are number 2s or group 2s that bloom on both old and new wood. So even though I pruned them pretty hard, this one down to like 3 inches of the ground, you can see, hopefully that focused for you, it is getting ready to bloom despite the snow we've been having here in May.